So today we're going to be talking about quarterbacks 11 through 20. And to kick off my list is Dallas Cowboys quarterback Tony Romo. Obviously, he's got the best offensive line in football. Tyron Smith, Zach Martin. You were able to get Lyle Collins, Travis Fredericks, Doug Free. Just beasts. Just big men that are beasts. Protecting Tony Romo. Everybody remembers that 7-second play that he had against the New York Giants on Sunday Night Football, which was the Odell Beckham catch, but it didn't matter because they lost. Anyways, Tony Romo's best efficiency year, his best rating of it is his career. The yards weren't so much there because of how much they rushed the football. But again, you lose Murray, so they're going to go with a running back by committee system, which I think should tack on a little bit of pass attempts for Tony Romo. He has a top 5 stud in Dez Bryant, one of those big physical behemoths that can get down the field. Again, just like the NFC East, you're playing the NFC East, you're playing the NFC South. Okay, those are good matchups, and you know, it'll be very interesting, but I've got Tony Romo pegged just under Eli Manning strictly because I think the pass attempts won't be there, and I'm still a little bit worried about the injury risk with Tony Romo's back. Eli Manning's been an Iron Man throughout his career. He's never missed a start, and that's why I've got him pegged one slot higher. But again, Tony Romo, he was the highest scoring quarterback in the month of December fantasy-wise, so just another year of Tony Romo being a great value for your fantasy team. At number 12 in my personal sleeper this year is Ryan Tannehill. Okay, this is the first time he's going to have legitimate weapons. Now we know that Devontae Parker is hurt right now, so he's not going to develop that chemistry in the offseason with Tannehill, but he'll eventually get brought along as the season goes. They got Kenny Stills, who will be able to stretch the field. You still got your PPR stud in Jarvis Landry, who runs all those short routes, kind of an extension of their running game. They brought in Jay Ajayi. They have Lamar Miller, both backs whom can catch passes out of the backfield. And again, this kid was a former wide receiver. He can run. I believe he had over 400 rushing yards last year. That's great value for a quarterback. And I look for Tannehill to kind of put it all together this season. And I'm kind of expecting a 28 touchdown, 4,200 yard season with about 300 to 500 rushing yards. Maybe not 500, but yeah, I like about where he was this year in that 400 range in the second year of Bill Lazor's system. Again, and they've got Jordan Cameron, who, if his health can stay consistent, you've got a stud that can catch passes in the middle of the field. And number 13, good old Phillip Rivers. In the last 6 of this, in Phillip's 6 of the past 7 seasons, he's top 4K, so you know the yardage will be there. For the second year in a row, he's had over 30 touchdowns, and he doesn't have a Dez Bryant, a Julio Jones. This guy's best receiver is what's his name? It's escaping me now. I don't know. You guys will probably know. 3rd round pick, 2013. He's a good route runner. So you've got him, you brought in Stevie Johnson, you've still got deep threat Malcolm Floyd, okay? And their 1st round pick is going to help them immensely. Melvin Gordon, he showed at his pro day that he can catch passes out of the backfield, not just with his body too. He caught passes away from his body, showing those natural hands. And if he can develop into a feature back, that could help single coverage on the outside for those wide receivers. So, I like Phillip Rivers' year. Again, he started off hot, and then as the season went on, he faded a little bit. So if you do draft Phillip Rivers with your 9th, 10th round selection, have another quarterback to go next to him. Have another streamer so you can play those enticing matchups when they come. I do like the playoff matchups at Kansas City, Miami, and Oakland. So if you do have Phillip Rivers, those are good weeks for you. So now, number 14, Matthew Stafford. It seems since he's entered the league and he's either been injured or he's thrown for 41 touchdowns in that, I believe it was that 2011 season. So, ever since then, it's slowly decreased over time, but you still have Calvin Johnson, okay? So you finally got a stud number 2 in Golden Tate. Okay, they drafted Amir Abdullah. He can catch passes out of the backfield. Can Eric Ebron develop as a second-year tight end? So there's weapons there for Matthew Stafford to play with, okay? The thing with Matthew Stafford is he just makes the wrong decisions. We all know he has a cannon arm, okay? We all know he can stretch the field. We know that the accuracy is there. It's just the intangibles, the decision-making. Sometimes you're just left wondering, like, what are you doing, Stafford? You know what I mean? And it's led to the reason why, outside of this past year and I believe 2011, the Lions haven't made the playoffs. And we'll see if they do this year. I mean, losing to Ndamukong Suh helps. And they kind of just traded for the guy from Baltimore, the defensive tackle, Nata, thank you. His name almost escaped me. So we'll see if that defense can hold it together. But I like Matthew Stafford as a streamer this year, not an every week guy. At number 15, I personally got Colin Kaepernick. Again, for me, rushing yards are very valuable. Okay, 25 yards per point when you're passing, 10 yards per point when you're rushing. And Colin Kaepernick has strung together back-to-back 600-yard rushing seasons. They brought in Torrey Smith now. Now they've got someone who can kind of stretch the defense out for Colin Kaepernick. We know he has that NASA rocket arm, okay? We know that Anquan Bolden will be that consistent possession guy for, Colin Kaepernick. And does Vernon Davis come out of the rock he was hiding under all last year? It was Dallas, 2 touchdowns. Oh, my God, I'm so glad I got Vernon Davis, too. Oh, man, my team's crap because I drafted Vernon Davis high. Basically, that's kind of how you felt as an owner of Vernon Davis last year. Part of that was because of the system. Greg Roman doesn't generally employ his tight ends. So we'll see what Jim Tomsula, how he uses Vernon Davis. That could tremendously help Colin Kaepernick's value. So I look for Kaepernick to be a streamer option again. You don't want to rely on this guy week to week, but I like his potential this year if the weapons can come together. Okay, so number 16 on my list this year is Joe Flacco. One of the big things that determined this for me is the hiring of offensive coordinator Mark Trestman. We saw what kind of volume numbers Jay Cutler had last year. He was basically a garbage man in terms of just how much fantasy points the dude was racking up. So now that system comes to Baltimore. You've still got a very competent Steve Smith. You used a first-round draft choice on Brashad Perryman, who should instantly be able to fill that Torrey Smith void and stretch the field. But some, coaches and some beat writers have been watching him play, and some even think Brashad Perryman could potentially be an all-around receiver. Just got to see those hands and those routes get polished up a bit. But I like the size. I like the physicality, 6'2", 212. That'll be a nice target for Joe Flacco. He was really close to 4,000 yards. I think he had like 3,996, if I'm correct. So I like that. I think he'll be a great streaming option this year. And when you look at Joe towards the end of the season, he's usually balling out 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdown games. So Joe Flacco could be a nice sleeper here at quarterback. And that's why he makes number 16 on my list. Number 17, the aforementioned garbage man, Jay Cutler. Okay, eventually we knew he was going to show up on the list. Okay, John Fox and Adam Gase come over from Denver, bring that quick-hitting system that really helped Demaryius Thomas and Peyton put up some serious fantasy points. Okay, you got talent to throw to. You got Alshon Jeffrey. He's going to be the one now. You still got the black unicorn in Martellus Bennett. Now, we know John Fox has a history of not trusting rookies, so I am a little bit hesitant about Kevin White's value, but he's going to play this year. I mean, how can you keep a 6'3" guy that runs a 4.35 40 off the field? I mean, that's crazy talk to me. So, when I think about the kind of production that he can have, and I look at Jay Cutler's complement of receivers, you still got Matt Forte who can catch passes out of the in the backfield. I like Cutler's value. Again, I'm not picking him to win games for me, but as a value fantasy quarterback, as a bye week guy, as a streamer, when you play Green Bay, when you play the Detroit and some of these other, teams that are going to be in shootout, mode. Yeah, I like Jay Cutler as a quarterback too. And I like the playoff matchups: Washington, Minnesota, Tampa Bay. I think those are all potential streaming days, especially if you've made it to the playoffs, because you've got stud playmakers, stud backs, maybe you've got Gronk. So I like him as a quarterback 2 streamer. My number 18th quarterback is basically whoever's playing for the Philadelphia Eagles. I'm a little bit hesitant here because I know Mark Sanchez will turn the ball over, but I'm really looking at Sam Bradford here. And I know that the injury concerns are big for a lot of people, but I like the talent there. Jordan Matthews, he pretty much, I think he broke SEC records 2 years ago when he was a senior there. Okay, he's a big stud. Not going to really stretch the field, but a nice blanket for Sam Bradford or Mark Sanchez. I like Nelson Aguilar a lot. He's basically going to step into that Jeremy Maclin role. Beat writers and some coaches on Eagles coaching staff really like Josh Huff. So I know that a lot of these guys aren't names yet, but I think they're going to find good production in the receiving game. And when you couple that with DeMarco Murray, Ryan Matthews, Darren Sproles, all backs that are capable of catching passes in this Chip Kelly scheme, whoever's there, I like their value here. Personally, I prefer Bradford. Okay, a lot of this offense is ran out of shotgun, so, Bradford won't be dropping back nearly as much as he was with the Rams. And if he can stay healthy, I look at a couple of those early matchups, on the, Dallas week 1, Atlanta week 2, I think a couple other weaker teams week 3, or week 3 might be the Jets, but I know in that first 5 games, a lot of good matchups here for Sam Bradford, so I'm going to lock him in at 18. At 19, I've got Carson Palmer. Again, another injury risk here, but the Cardinals were, when Palmer was under center, the Cardinals were a top 10 passing offense. I like the talent there. Fitz isn't what he was, but Fitz can still play. We saw the emergence of John Brown. We know about Michael Floyd. Okay, so there are some pretty good B-tier receiving options in Arizona. Andre Ellington can still catch passes out of the backfield. They brought in Mike Iupati, strengthened that offensive line. They drafted DJ Humphries in the first round, who's a stud at the line and probably played right tackle right away. Because Jared Valdeer's locking down that left tackle spot. So when I look at Carson Palmer, if he can stay healthy, please, Carson, stay healthy. I like you. And this is, we were talking in a previous episode, the draft strategy episode. This is one of those guys who could go from being a streamer to a starter every week. So, and finally at number 20 on my list is Teddy Bridgewater. I loved him coming out of college. He wasn't a pro-style system, and it really did translate to him becoming a Viking. His passes down the field in double coverage were accurate on occasion, okay? He showed good mobility in the pocket, and what was big for me is he went through his progressions. That's huge, especially for a rookie quarterback. With Adrian Peterson in the fold, with Charles Johnson and Mike Wallace providing that vertical threat for Teddy Bridgewater, I like a good streamer season at a Teddy Bridgewater, and he's my number 20th ranked quarterback. Thank you so much for listening. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We're always looking to try to get more support on the channel. If you'd like to come on, please let me know. And thank you. Next week, we'll be talking running back rankings. And if you have any questions, let us know. High stakes sports debates.